Thank you, Lola. Hi, my name is Bob Ludke. I'm with the Harkin Institute for Public Policy, which was founded by former Senator Tom Harkin when he retired from the Senate. And Senator Harkin was one of the lead authors of the Americans with Disabilities Act. I had the pleasure of working with Senator Harkin for a number of years and some other members of Congress. And now my work at the Institute primarily is focused on employment outcomes and fostering competitive integrated employment. So, as Lola mentioned, this panel is about creating the toolkits, the resources, and other materials, other communication means for all of us to engage with policymakers in Washington, D.C., at the state and local level, and really anyone who has the opportunity to shape how we live and how we work and how we communicate with each other. And today we'll hear from two inspirational self-advocates who are on the council, who are with the Kansas Council on Developmental Disabilities, and an inspirational sibling advocate and IA expert. And so before I ask the questions, I'd like the panelists to introduce themselves and just maybe a couple sentences about what they're most passionate about. So Whit, why don't we start with you?
Hi, my name is Whit Downing. I'm the program coordinator for the Kansas Council on Developmental Disabilities. I started in July, so I'm new. I'm also a self-advocate. I'm autistic. And then I'm very passionate about mental health advocacy, suicide prevention, and including autistic people in those conversations. And I'm a cat mom. I love my cat, Rosalie.
All right. Thank you, Whit. Austin, could you please share a little bit about you and what you're most passionate about and your skills around advocacy?
Other side.
Hi, I am Austin Hanson and I was born and raised in Topeka, Kansas. I received the diagnosis of spastic quadriplegic cerebral palsy after a complication recovering from a surgery as a baby. It was much harder growing up without the technology we have today. I relied on my family to translate my speech and advocate for me. Sometimes it wasn't always what I wanted, but they always did their best to help me succeed. I was lucky to have such a hard-working support system of family, friends, therapists, and caseworkers. They helped me get the training and tools I needed to have and keep my job in data entry with families together. I have worked there for over 25 years. They also supported me greatly in my career as a professional athlete with the Team USA Paralympic bocce team. I have been all over the world competing and have been to 3 Paralympic Games, Atlanta, and Greece. I am passionate about advocacy, marriage equality for people with disabilities, and increasing work opportunities for people with disabilities. It is important for us all to advocate for ourselves and for those who love us to hear what we need and help us find the resources to live the life we desire.
That's amazing, Austin. Thank you. Hey, Tate, could you briefly introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Tate Kernell. I'm a brother and permanent math tutor to Lola, who we all know, and a sibling advocate. I'm a mathematician, and I work in healthcare, building AI models to find diseases that are missed, that are life-threatening, and to reduce inequalities. I'm really new to advocacy, but I'm excited about how AI can improve the independence of many self-advocates, including Lola. And I'm passionate about everyone having an equal opportunity to participate in their community, and I think that new technologies are a really great way to improve that.
Thank you, Tate. Austin, let me start with you. You're an active member of the Kansas DD Council. You are part of Families Together, and you have, as you mentioned, these amazing Paralympic achievements, and you've represented the country all over the world. Do you have any tips or tools for all of us on how we can get involved in local or state councils or committees or serve on boards of directors of advocacy organizations?
is the only way true change can happen. Most of us are connected with a social worker of some kind, and they will know the communities in your area and how to get a hold of them. Don't be shy. Your perspective is unique and important to the conversation. We need more people with disabilities in government leadership roles, so getting started at your community level will help get you started.
So Whit, you've been what, on the council now or part of the council for what, 6 months now? And yet in that time, you've testified before the US Congress, you've testified at the state government in Topeka, Kansas, right? So could you just give us a few tips for, how you put that testimony together, how you were so successful in delivering that testimony, and what you can do to really make sure that the ideas you share in that testimony stick in the minds of people?
So when you go give testimony, the meetings are not very long. So you want to be as prepared as you can be beforehand. Come up, like before the testimony, come up with a few things or a couple things that you want to talk about. That way you're not, that way there's not like, because there's so many different things that you may want to say. That's why it's important to come up beforehand with what you want, what you like actually like your main points that you want to say. And then also be authentic. That means, share stories like of what you're talking about has impacted you, how what you're talking about has impacted your friends. Share stories, and because when you share stories, it lets your legislature know on a personal level how what you are sharing impacts people. Because we're all people, and just because we have a disability, these things like this is our lives, and we want them to know that this is stuff that affects us.
Thank you, Whit. Well, that was great. We're gonna pick up on a few more points from what she said. And now I'd like to ask Tate a question about AI, but before we do, I do have a point of clarification here. Tate introduced himself as Lola's tutor in math. Lola reminded me that Lola is Tate's tutor in everything but math. So again, I've set the record straight here. So Tate, many of us, certainly new to AI, we have a lot to learn. Can you just tell us about, how AI is being used for advocacy, how AI can be used to help us become better advocates? And what are maybe some of the things that we can look forward to in the future for how to use AI to do our advocacy better?
Yeah, I think, I'm pretty new to advocacy, like I said, but the way that I use AI right now for advocacy is helping me learn more about how state government works, how legislature works, how passing bills work. It's a really great personal assistant that essentially never gets bored or never gets tired or has another thing to go do. It can help you answer all your questions, as many as you have, which is really, really cool. I think the other thing that's important just in general is never too late to start learning about it. I think there's a lot of opportunities, and we'll get into some of them later, on ways that AI can improve our lives right now today. And then looking forward, as the technology keeps getting better and better, it's going to keep giving us more and more opportunities to be more independent and solve difficult problems that we run into every day. So I'm really excited about the future. I think it'll make a difference for us all.
Perfect. So, Austin, you actually use AI in many of the ways that Tate just described. Can you tell us how you use AI every day?
It is certainly hard to communicate when my voice is hard to understand, and I have to Those keys are hard to push many buttons. Apple has come a long way with their integrated hand tracking, and there are lots of different apps. I have some apps that work better for prepared talks and others that use AI to listen in on a conversation and provide ways for me to quickly interact. It's easy to get left behind in a conversation, and most people don't realize how quickly they all bounce ideas and thoughts around to each other. This technology has really helped, and I know it will only get better.
Wade, you touched on a really, really important point, and that is about the importance of telling a personal story, of making human connection in the testimony, or the human connection when you're advocating to policymakers. And so yes, obviously AI is a big help. It's an important tool. It makes all of our can make all of our advocacy easier. But I want you to expand a little bit more about how, kind of our own experiences, our own expertise is so important when it comes to advocacy. It's so important coming to things like writing testimony or actually testifying in front of hearings both at the federal and state level.
Yeah, so when you're doing testimony and sharing your story or doing an ask or writing your testimony, sometimes it can really help to like look at what other people are sharing too. That helps me. Like when I was like writing my first testimony, I didn't really know where to start. And so I learned best by like seeing versus reading. So I would go to YouTube and type in what I'm looking for and then see a video of someone else doing it. And then that kind of gave me some points on what I want to touch. And then also, also ask the people around you who have experience writing testimony or talking to legislatures, because it's important that we know that when we go and do these things, we're not alone. There are other people who have done this too that can help us along the way. That's why I really like working for the council, because our team, we all help each other. And so when you're writing testimony or sharing your story, advocating, then find your tribe, your people who are going to help you.
That's great advice. Thank you. We're going to finish up in just a few minutes, and then we'll take some questions. We'll do a question and answer session. So the theme of today's event is speak up. And as we all know, there's a lot of different ways to speak up. You don't always have to use your voice to speak up. And so let's now talk a little bit about how there are other ways to contact and engage with legislatures, other ways to share your ideas in the policy process, be they here in Overland Park, or be they in Topeka or Washington, D.C., that don't always involve using a voice. You can use your voice in many, many different ways. So Whit, why don't you expand on that a bit more?
Sure. So if not everyone is going to be like holding a microphone and talking, and that's okay. There are so many different ways you can use your voice that is not talking. So if you're a writer, you want to write, then there are opportunities to write written testimony. And even if you have an issue that you're facing and you want to talk about it with legislators, but let's say you're scared right now, and you can write what you want to say and have someone else read it on your behalf. whatever way, I, like, I, I think we all do have a voice and we all deserve to be heard. And if that, and it's gonna look different. It's gonna look different for each person. So there's writing, and then you can share what you wrote, that you can have someone else read what you wrote. You can, well, maybe, I just had another idea. I don't know. Another idea I just had was you can invite that legislature person to something that can show them firsthand what you want changed, like the problem. If, like, let's say like there's a problem with, let's say there's a problem, you're unable to get on the bus, it's not accessible. Well, take pictures or make a video documentation showing how hard that is for you or someone else, and show them. Or let's say you don't feel like you're being heard somewhere else. Well, invite the legislature or someone who works with them to be able to witness firsthand.
Like today, they're coming next.
Yeah, like today they'll be here. So they're gonna, when they get here later, they're here. They're gonna be here. So that's really cool.
Tate, maybe pick up on some of what Whit just talked about. She talked a lot about the importance of writing as a way to communicate. Email is one way to share your writing with people. Maybe expand upon that a little bit more about how you can take your writing, put it in electronic form of communication, and use that to spread your message.
Yeah, thanks. So I know for me, when I'm writing an email, especially to like a legislator, the hardest part is getting started and knowing what to say. And I think one really cool way to use AI is just getting started on something. So typing in roughly what you want to say, or maybe some kind of information about yourself and what you're looking for, and then letting it build out maybe just a structure, or a little first draft of an email, and then you can go in and change whatever you want. I think we've worked on creating a little example demo that maybe we can do at the end of this, where we can actually show you how we can draft an email specifically for the Transformation for Competitive Integration Employment Act. We've put together a little GPT, as it's called, and there's a flyer in your books that has all this information, but we'll walk through it a bit. The other thing, writing one email takes a little while, writing 10, 20, 30 takes even longer. So being able to generate a lot of emails quickly that you can then fix instead of spending an hour typing out can be really impactful. You can reach a lot more people. And I think we'll kind of hold there and we'll go back.
And just, this goes back to the panel before. Don't expect one email to suddenly change everyone's mind. Don't expect, one moment of testimony before a city council to change everything. You need to continue to send emails. You need to continue to show up at meetings, at events. You need to make your voice heard, your mind understood, and your ideas shared with many. So it's repetition again and again and again, because as a former staff person, I would get a lot of emails. We would get a lot of letters from people in Iowa into our office. And so it's easy to forget. And it's easy to forget that maybe there is a transit system that needs more accessibility. So don't ever forget that repetition is really, really important. And don't think that just one email is going to change everything. So Austin, last question to you. You use a communication device in your advocacy and your outreach. Share with us a little bit about how that works and some of the success you had and some of the challenges that you've encountered in using your communications device.
My device has helped a lot, but I always sure to tell people to pay attention when I'm ready to talk. I also usually have someone with me to help me interrupt. It's hard to make people wait while I type. Most of the time I have someone help translate for me. Some people are not familiar enough to know what to do with their eyes and how to keep their conversation with me and not my translator. It's good to stay calm and teach others that it's okay to ask how we can best communicate with one another. The more we get involved in our communities, the more opportunities we get to teach others how to be confident and comfortable talking with someone who uses a device or translator. This will help us all speak out, speak up, and be heard.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Do we have a few minutes for Q&A?
Well, can Tate do a little
Oh,
demonstration?
you want to do the demo now?
Sure.
Great, perfect.
All right, I'm gonna use Lola for this demo since she roasted me earlier.
Whatever Tate. I am controlling the whole conference today.
All right, so in all your packets, there's this form right here. So I won't go through necessarily all the steps, but we'll kind of just get a high-level overview. So on this sheet we have, it talks about how to register for ChatGPT. That's just one of the many that we can use. I picked that one because it's the easiest and most straightforward, and probably most people are familiar with it. So when you go to ChatGPT, you'll see just a window. You'll reopen my tab. And you can see an easy button just to sign up. And there's steps in here, so you can all reference after. You add your email address, you'll create a password, and you'll verify your email. But most importantly, what we've done is create this TCIEA action alert, specifically for that act that we're hoping to write letters for. And what this does is it allows you to just put some basic information about yourself and reasons you're passionate about this act into this little bar here at the bottom, if everyone can see. And it'll generate an email for you. And then you can take that email and send it to your representative. And I know there's a list in a number of places, I think, that council provides. But we'll do a quick demo and just kind of see what that looks like. And the way you get to this is just following this QR code here. Okay, so we tried to make it pretty straightforward. You can just scan this on your phone, and there's a link, and once you've signed up and you have the login, it should take you directly to this. So Lola, I'm going to ask you, tell me a little bit about yourself that you would like some representative to know and why you're passionate about
Okay.
this.
My name is Lola Kernell, and I am passionate about the rights of people with disabilities. I myself have Down syndrome, and I want everyone to have the same employment opportunities as me. Employment opportunities as me. Okay, Slow.
All right, so I'm just going to send this, and it'll quickly start building the email that we've set up. And you can see it says, my name is Lola Kernell, I'm a Kansas resident who's passionate about advocating for the rights of people with disabilities. As a person with Down syndrome, I've experienced firsthand the importance of having equal access to employment opportunities, and reaching out to ask you for your support co-sponsoring the bipartisan Transformation to Competitive Integrated Employment Act. And the email continues, but you can see that there's quite a bit here that's really meaningful and a lot of great information that's automatically generated. Now, of course, if any of this doesn't represent how you feel or what you believe, you just copy and paste this into an email and change it as necessary. But it's really cool and really powerful, and this would take me much longer doing the research, trying to figure out all these different wage differences. That's pretty time consuming, but this makes your start so much easier. And of course, if there's other things that you would like to say, you can always add them here, and it'll just change again. So I think it's a really cool tool, and more tools like this are continually coming out. So the more that you can kind of learn about AI and spend time getting you more comfortable with it, the more advantage you'll have going forward in the future. I think it'll be really life-changing for many of us.
Perfect, thank you. But just remember one thing though. You can have all these AI-powered tools, you can testify, you can send in, all these emails and make phone calls to members of Congress and your state reps. But if you don't vote, none of that matters. So the most powerful way to make your voice heard is voting. So, and we're less than a month away from a big election, so all of us, please go vote. Excellent. Allison, do we have a few minutes for Q&A, or are we?
Yes.
Okay. I believe we have our first question here. Mallory, did you have a question that you still want to ask?
Yes.
Okay, let me hand you the mic.
What is it, Valerie? For me, I have autism too, and I was very shocked that I tried to strip off Medicaid from that too, and I don't want that to happen like that ever again, because I too am on both Medicare and Medicaid as an individual with disability.
Yeah, Mallory, right? Yeah.
Yes.
I agree with you. That's very important. And yeah, I agree. I'm on that too, Medicaid and Medicare, so I agree with you.
Yes, I am too, I'm disabled too. I have autism, I have high functioning autism, and I'm coping with my disabilities very well.
Good.
So you kind of have a question too.
Okay, Josh, what's the question?
See, I think I just kind of wanted to say that, I think that, I would say that like, the AI thing, that you, kind of, pointed out there, I think it's, I think it's kind of a cool, and, I think it's, kind of a little bit interesting, it kind of, I think it, is kind of a, is kind of a, kind of has like all the unique, features and, you know, I guess is there like a way to be able to, for me, because I kind of have trouble kind of, writing out emails because I make mistakes all the time. Is there like a way to like, to be able to, write my emails faster without having to write them, without them being too like time consuming?
Absolutely. I think that's an amazing use case that I use almost every day, where just like we were showing earlier, if you have that window, you just say, help me write this email, period, and then say roughly what you want it to say. It'll spit out the whole email for you, which is really cool. You can also ask it to do things like summarizing long emails for you, or explaining maybe some complex situations in really plain language, which I use it for all the time.
Okay, it's good to know.
Tate, when you're using ChatGPT, can you actually speak into the device? So you don't actually have to always type everything, right?
Yeah, great point. So there's often a button, which I should say plugged in, with a little microphone, and you can just press it, and it'll listen to everything you say.
Okay, this is on.
It is.
Yes.
Ask a question, Ty.
Oh, okay.
Any question?
So I'm not really on Medicaid or Medicare. I'm not on that. But I might be able to go on there if I have the money. But I'm gonna tell anyone, is there a doctor in here? Someone?
No.
I'm on the autistic spectrum, but if anyone wants to put me on Medicaid or Medicare, please do not put penicillin in there, because I am allergic to that.
Did you have a question?
Did you like a question?
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, question. Okay, so with the AI thing, um, is it possible that you can still like do all that stuff like without AI?
Definitely, yeah. So all of the stuff you can do personally, and many people don't, you have to use AI or don't use AI. It's just a tool. It's one of many tools that you can use to help speed things up, but there's certainly no requirement to use it at all.
Make sure to proofread.
Yeah, and always proofread, always check over what it's saying to make sure it's representing what you want it to say. That's always important with really anything you send to anyone.
Okay, this is a question for Austin. Here's the thing, I've been struggling with, I'm in a disability wheelchair like everybody else in this community, and I've been having problems with, opening the doors, and nobody ever, opens the doors for me, and all that, and I had to tell him, please open the door, like, come on, like, really? And I was like, for real. So I was wondering, do you experience that when you were in a wheelchair too, or how would you feel if someone didn't open the door for you?
Yes, I have. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. It feels like I'm locked out, left out. But you can call whoever, you can call whoever is around where you are to help you, to tell them to get you can tell them to get a door opener. Making accommodation requests to make it more accessible.
Hi, my question is not AI. We've been talking a lot about voting, and we live outside Kansas City and Topeka, so we're kind of representing, or we're around more of a conservative political climate. And how do we get informed what politician or what voting and who we're voting for to get accurate information? There's so much misinformation, and then there's disinformation. And outside this area, a lot of families are maybe not as well informed, especially when it comes to disabilities or social services. And so they tend to vote with their family that may not be fully informed on those. And so they tend to take that opinion. Where is some accurate information that you would recommend that is accurate without the influence of one side or the other?
Sarah, do you want to help answer that question?
I
Yeah,
walked,
okay.
the
So the question is, how can all of us ensure that we're able to get accurate information about the candidates, their positions on issues, so that we can vote in the most informed way possible, no matter where we live in the state. And again, just like searching for unbiased,
And what
accurate.
affects us and our rights and our
Right.
needs, you know,
Right.
that appeals to.
That's a really good question. One one database that we utilize all the time with our advocacy work is just the Kansas legislature. You can go on and put in your zip code, find out who your state senator and your state rep and then your federal delegation as well. Find out who they are and find out what bills they've introduced and bills that they've led on. They do a pretty good job here in Kansas of listing out those bills that they're taking a lead on. So that's just one quick way. We can help you on disability-specific questions. I had a council member text me a couple weeks ago and asked me, do you know if this state rep or this candidate supported our work to increase the funding for that IDD wait list? I'm sure we kind of covered that topic today. And so I can quickly check, on the budget perspective, whether that person has supported that. So we can be a resource to help answer those unbiased questions.
Okay.
Putting a political party aside, if you want to know.
And also, like local and state is so important. We tend to think only 4 years the presidential election is big. And, that local state is so important because it's state level and it affects us greatly. But even also on as presidential election, how that affects us, specifically with people with disabilities.
Yes, and I'll let Kelly jump up here in a minute.
Okay.
I worked, Kayla may have told you, she's my former colleague. I worked in Washington for 15 years, and I'm the former CEO of the National Down Syndrome Society, and spent a lot of time working with leaders like Kelly and Commissioner Hawker and others to pass federal legislation. Things in Washington, D.C., as Bob can attest to, move really, really slow. Congress is 2 years, so we have a little bit more time to get co-sponsors, to move a budget bill forward, to work on the marriage penalty and eliminating that. In Topeka, and my eyes have been open, it's like that game whack-a-mole. Like, there's a fire, we gotta put it out over here, we need to push this legislation, because our legislative session, and you're gonna hear this from Representative Williams, Representative Ruiz, and Representative Clayton, our next panel here with Lola, we only have 3 months a year to move legislation. So when we activate our networks and send out action alerts through SAC and Families Together and DRC, we need you to act fast, to make those calls, send those emails. And this is one of the reasons why Lola worked so hard to pull this together, is so we can activate that next generation of advocates to be boots on the ground and work with us at the council. Kelly?
Okay, so somehow the circumstances have come together to force me to play the devil's advocate of all people, but here I am. Okay, so creative people, like people who work in creative fields, graphic designers, writers of all sorts, have deep and abiding concerns about the use of AI tools. Partially this is because AI tools, especially artists, tend to steal their stuff and then use it to train the AI on how to create similar images. But the same goes for writers as well. Most commercial AI, as far as I can tell, are trained off the words of other people. Now here's the thing. I've actually programmed one of these things for fun myself using my own words. It's not as complicated as it sounds like it is. You just have to be willing to write a load of text and use a program. Here's the thing. These machines are really, really, really good at imitating tone of voice. If you want something to sound like something, they can do that. What they are not good at is knowing anything about anything. The machine doesn't know anything. All it can do is imitate what it's heard. And this can be a problem if you're trying to say something really specific about legislation, or you are trying to speak more clearly on a topic. They are very, very good generalizers, possibly better than any humans ever been. But when it comes, but they can get the details not just wrong, but fake. They'll supply fake information if you aren't very specific about them. So I am both concerned on behalf of the creative community, and they're running concerns about how these tools are being used and what they're being trained on, and I'm concerned that people will rush in and use these tools without being able to really evaluate if what they are saying is even true. And a lot of people have made this mistake, and it's gonna come up when you've got people with disabilities using these things. It's gonna come up a lot. What if you run into a person who knows what they want to say, but is unable to evaluate whether what the AI has said matches what they were trying to say? That's going to come up constantly with developmental disability, and I don't know how you would ever avoid it. Like, I cannot emphasize enough, these are useful tools for when you need to get general words out. I think that you've got a pretty good general use case for them here, but you have to have multiple levels of review every time you use one.
So true.
Perfectly nice. Perfectly nice.